Rocking and a rolling. We are live. This is Get Valiant episode 85. Um, Pretty much until today, it seemed like there wasn't really going to be hardly anything to talk about on this episode besides reviewing Valiant High number 2, which we will get to. But lucky for us and for all you Valiant fans out there was a big announcement today. Woo! What did we
Yeah,
hear
so
today,
today,
Josh?
Valiant announced Valiant Beyond, and so that's like their big summer, or not really summer, but more like a fall publishing initiative. They announced 4 books that tie into this, and it's pretty interesting. Like I feel like in a way that they listen to not just us, like Eric and I, the podcasters, but I feel like some of the stuff is like they listen to like all of us, like the fans, because some of these decisions I thought that were made, like for books that they're going to publish, really seem like things that people have been asking for. So it's pretty cool. And we'll go into each one of these books and talk about them. I've got all the info in front of me of who is on what to be
Yeah,
prepared
I'm
for
pulling
this.
it up right now because I'm not smart enough to have it ready ahead of time.
Oh, Eric, come on.
Um, so, oh, I had a question, but I think we should get to that later. Well, apparently mine's not gonna actually pull up here. Um, I don't know what is going on. Um, but yeah, we got 4 books. So, what are the 4 books that were announced today?
The 4 books that were announced were Faith, Dreamside, followed by Bloodshot, Rising Spirit, then Livewire, and then the fourth book is called Incursion. So kind of an
So,
interesting little mix. And what I had meant by like Valiant listening to fans on this is, you know, Eric and I for like the longest time have been like Livewire, give us more Livewire. We need more Livewire. I'm a Faith fan. I've liked the book. I think Eric's liked the book too, even though it's not normally like the kind of thing that's necessarily aimed at him as a reader, but he's been pretty positive on it. And obviously, both of us like Bloodshot. So we're like, give us more Bloodshot. Maybe take it in a different path. Um, and on those 3 things, I kind of feel like Valiant is listening to people, who have spoken out. They've had different pitches. I'm sure it's good to go in different routes, but I'm really stoked on this today. I knew something was going to be announced just from following Twitter, and I believe it was Joe Illidge, the executive editor with Valiant, had said like tomorrow there was going to be something he wanted to announce. So this is great. This is great, especially for all the people who've been like down in the dumps on Valiant after the DMG takeover, who have been like, "Oh, DMG is not going to put out any books. They're not going to do anything new." It seems like this is a good push. This one reminds me a little bit more of like one of the older ones where it wasn't quite so many books, being that there's only 4. But I think all these books sound great.
here's the thing that I want to add to that, though. Like, they only announced 4, but we got to remember that um, Britannia, Lost Eagles of Rome, is going to come out the month before this initiative starts. So that's kind of like their 5 new books. And
Exactly.
then also, Life and Death of Toyo Harada is going to start in January in the middle of this initiative. So if you add those 2 previously announced books, we're still getting 6 brand new titles from now until February. And obviously, we don't know what's going to happen after that, but that doesn't seem like a bad deal to me. Like, that seems pretty awesome and pretty on par with what they usually do with these pushes.
I totally agree with that. You know, um, I guess like the way we all look, a lot of us looked at it was like these were just 4 books that weren't announced prior. But yeah, I mean, if you definitely add them up, it's just like one of the like, Future of Valiant, Summer of Valiant kind of things that they've been doing. Um, but yeah, definitely like a lot to be excited about. I think like really like with this one, there is definitely something for like every type of like Valiant reader. Because you have like Bloodshot for like the people who want like the action. Hopefully, it's going to be that. Um,
Well, let's get into each of these. Let's dive a little deeper into them.
all right, let's do
And
that.
we can go in order of how they'll be released. So coming first from this push, starting in starting in September, we will be getting Faith Dreamside. And what I think is really cool about this is we've got, obviously, it's a faith book. Um, it's awesome. So here to me are the things that I think are being done right with this book right out of the gate. Um, it's a faith book written by Jody Hauser. Perfect person, in my opinion, to write a new faith book or another faith
Agreed.
book.
Agreed.
Um, you're teaming her up with Dr. Mirage, who is very different, has a very different attitude and approach to things than Faith does, which means they're probably going to clash a little bit, which is going to make for a really interesting story. They're adding Animalia into this, and Animalia has a problem, and that's awesome to me because I love her as a character, and I'm really excited to see another writer tackle her. I wasn't a huge fan of what Van Lente did with her in Gen Zero, but I think that her role in Harbinger Renegades, as well as the little bit that we've seen her in Harbinger Wars 2 so far, I've been really happy with. So I'm excited to see that. And then the fourth thing that I think is really awesome here is we're getting MJ Kim on art, who did that what was it, the Easter special, I want to say. Excuse me, Faith's Winter Wonderland special that was
Yeah.
written by Marguerite Sauvage. That art, while I wasn't really a big fan of that issue, that art was amazing and really fit Faith. So I'm really, really thinking. So for those four reasons, I'm really excited for this book.
Yeah, and one other thing I want to add to that too is that we're going to get some covers by Marguerite Sauvage, which I think that's great too because I've always just loved what she's done with the character. I don't know
That's
if we're going to get
absolutely going to be nice.
those little like vignette pieces though inside that where she would like illustrate it, from like Faith's viewpoint or from like her fantasy viewpoint. I hope we get some more of that. I think that's been like a really great kind of thing that Jody has added to the stories. And but I think this is gonna be an awesome book. Like I said, I've been a big Faith fan, and I do think that she does kind of meet that demographic of like all ages readers. The books are really fun, friendly. Um, she's just a cool character. I like seeing how she geeks out with everything. I wasn't a huge fan of the Winter Special either. It's probably like my least favorite Faith story. But I think Jodie's awesome, and I'm glad that she's back doing something with Valiant because I had asked her about it at WonderCon. She didn't really have an answer, but this is awesome. Great news.
Yeah, definitely. I think Faith is a really good character. Something that I think we talked about last week is, not every fan is going to be in the target market for every book that Valiant puts out. And I'm not really Faith's target market, and I'm okay with that, but I can still enjoy it for what it is. And it might not be my favorite book personally, but I think that there's a lot of reasons for this to be somebody's favorite book. And I'm really excited for that person. I'm happy that we're getting this book, and I'm happy for the people that are going to really be looking out for this. So yeah, I think that that's a really strong way to start this push. Um, Really exciting for me. I think again we were just talking last week about the fact that Lemire is leaving Bloodshot and probably Valiant as a whole, and wondering what's going to happen with the character next. I was saying that I didn't want a big gap between the end of Lemire's run and the next series. And while it won't be an immediate transition from one to the other, at least before Lemire's series is done, we already know that the next series is coming. And yeah, that's Bloodshot Rising Spirit.
Yeah, so this book's gonna be pretty interesting. It's written by Lonnie Nadler and Zach Thompson. Both of them, if I remember correctly, they worked at Black Mass Studios, and I think just Zach Thompson writes Cable. I'm not positive, but
No, they
art's by
write it together.
do they write together? I didn't know if
That's
they're
my
like a writing team always or what. I'm
Yeah, I
that
think
much
one of them worked with Donnie Cates on something, and they've written a bunch of other stuff together.
okay. And art by Ken Lashley. I think this is gonna be a really solid creative team. I'm only familiar with their work at Black Mask. I haven't read Cable, but this one's gonna be a little bit different because this one's gonna be set up in the past. So it's more of kind of looking back at what kind of made Bloodshot who he is. Maybe a little bit of an origin, bit of a story here. But I think this is kind of the perfect way to match up with like what Lemire has done. I mean, even though I do think that like Salvation probably isn't going to be like, I mean, even when it's done, when it's all said and done, I don't think I'll hold it in the same light I hold Reborn. I think Reborn is just like a beast of a book, and if that's where Lemire ended, I would be like, no one's going to like touch that anytime soon. But I think Salvation has been okay. I really hope it finishes strong. But I think this is actually great. I think like we need to look a little bit more in the past of Bloodshot. You know, seeing kind of like what led him to get here. Some of these things that have happened to him prior. I'm pretty excited for that. I mean, like, you know, all we've really seen is just like his missions going forward from when he broke free of the Project Rising Spirit, kind of like mind possession through the, you know, their program. So this could be awesome. And I think even though like maybe people aren't really familiar with these writers, you know, I remember like a while back, just my own take upon Chris Gage coming over to write Ninjak and kind of feeling like, you know, he's written some good stuff, but he's written a bunch of stuff that I haven't cared for. And I look at his work now and I think, man, he writes the best book at Valiant. Like nothing's even close to it to me, you know, and I like everything, but his book is awesome. So even though like, if you look at some of the stuff and you're maybe not quite as like excited about it as you might feel you should be, you never know like what someone's take is going to be, even if you've read like one book that's not good. Like even like Andy Diggle did Shadowland at Marvel. People don't love that, but
Yeah.
people are really liking his Shadowman work here. So this could be good. That comes out in
Yeah.
November.
Yeah, that one is going to be coming in November. I am not familiar with any of these creators, Lonnie Nadler, Zach Thompson, or Ken Lashley. I looked Ken Lashley up. Obviously, it's a lot easier to see somebody's art style at a glance than it is to understand somebody as a writer. So yeah, I looked up Ken Lashley's art. I think that he's got a really cool style. What I notice about his style is it's very superhero comic book, right? Like it's very early 2000s to modern superhero comics. That's what his work looks like. And I don't say that in it like it's super generic because I don't know that I would necessarily say that, but I think it fits that cliche really, really well and in a good way, in my opinion. And I'm really interested to see that brought to Bloodshot because I think that, you know, with that art style, writing an action book can look amazing. The other thing here is something that I was already saying is that, you know, with ever since Lemire took Bloodshot over in the Valiant, we've gotten this very humanized version of Bloodshot, and I love what Lemire's done. And I would agree with you, Josh, that you know, Reborn is kind of the pinnacle of Bloodshot comics, and Salvation is not quite as good. It's still good. It's
It's
just
still good.
not quite that
It's
good.
still good.
Yeah. But again, Reborn and Salvation both are very much about this, you know, humanized version of the character. I have been wanting more, you know, um, action and violence and, you know, more of what you would think of the, like if I gave you an elevator pitch of who Bloodshot is as a character, you're going to expect what Dwayne Straczynski gave us in 2012 and 2013. That's what I'm kind of hoping that we can get the character back to. Not exactly that, obviously, but I think that it would be cool to get more of that type of stuff from the character. And it really seems like that's the direction that they're going here. There's a lot of talk in this solicit about his past, when they were setting up his memories by a character called the Memory Weaver. You know, all of this stuff makes it really seem like this is going to be set before Straczynski's 2012 run, which I'm okay with. I think that that's really cool. It's also going to be a really easy jumping on point since it takes place before any other story. And it's going to give readers a really good look into who Bloodshot is as a character, which I think is great.
Yeah, you know, I think for me, like looking at like Salvation, I don't feel like Salvation has a lot of action with Bloodshot himself. It would be nice to get back to that. You know, him
Yeah.
going on missions and being kind of like the the nanite killing machine that you kind of think of him as a little bit, like
Yeah.
a little bit more like him pumping bullets in some people, groups of people, maybe even, just something that really kind of gets like a little bit more action going with the character. But
Yeah, I think Lemire's run has been about elevating him beyond that, and I love the run for that. But at the same time, like I want a little bit of that back.
and one
So
thing to keep in mind too with this is that this one will be an ongoing series, so they're going back to it being an ongoing, whereas everything else is going to be like a limited series. And one
sure.
thing I thought about that, just because it's on my mind, I do want to say this real quick. Valiant's got a pretty strong ongoing bunch of series right now. We got Shadow Man, Kwame and Woody, Exos. I mean, some people love it, some people think it's just okay. Bloodshot's gonna end.
Okay.
Obviously, we have Ninja K. So I mean, like, even though like a lot of these books are still just like a lot of miniseries, it still does kind of fit with what's going on with Valiant. They're not making the line grow. I don't think. I don't think we're gonna have too many books a month. It'll still stay relatively about the same. But I think the one thing to look at is that they are trying some new stuff with like at least a lot of ongoings. Putting in a little bit more miniseries in there. So shouldn't break the bank with anyone.
Yeah. Okay, so the next book coming, I'm really excited about.
Very excited about.
Coming out in December is going to be Livewire #1. As Josh kind of said before, we've been screaming for a long time that we need a Livewire book. We were really happy when we got Secret Weapons, which is obviously fronted by Livewire. But I think with the role she's playing and how powerful, it's obvious she is from Harbinger Wars 2. I think it only makes sense to give her her own book. What I would really hope for is that she ends up with an ongoing. But I'm not going to cry that this isn't an ongoing. I'd rather they do a limited series with her than nothing at all. So I'm really excited about that. I don't think that I even read the solicit on this one because I was so excited. Um,
It doesn't really give anything away as to like what the series would really be. Like I felt like the ones for like Faith and Bloodshot Rising Spirit, they tell you a little bit of like what's going to happen with this, and this one just kind of like tells you like who she is really. Like she's Livewire, she has this ability, and she's done these things, and you know, kind of like just there's not like a whole lot to go off of it with this one. But again, like Eric and I have been like screaming for this thing for like it seems like as long as we've been doing this podcast, and obviously both of us are huge fans. This is one thing about this I'm not familiar with the writer on this, Ayala. Vita Ayala. I'm
yeah,
probably
Vita Yala.
I apologize to anyone who does know the proper way to pronounce that. It did seem though to me, looking at Twitter, a lot of people were really excited about this news. She's got a fan base. A lot of people were chiming in with just like, awesome, great news. We love her. So hopefully, she can kind of deliver a good story here, because the one thing I think that's hard, while I think it's hard for like say the Bloodshot Rising Spirit team to step in to tackle Bloodshot, I think Heiser has done nothing but perfection with the secret weapons and with Amanda. So to me, I feel like she's the one that's got a really daunted task ahead of her of trying to deliver something, especially since she's going to be working with Raul Allen and Patricia Martin. And, they were the people that worked with Eric Heiser. But man, I mean, I'm so excited for this. Like, I just hope it's good. And I don't want to make that sound like I don't think she can write good. Like, I'm not saying that. I just don't know her writing. But I mean, like, Livewire is seriously like one of my favorite characters in the Valiant universe. So like for me, this is the one that like I'm the most excited about. At the same time, I'm just like, please, like, do some cool stuff, because I thought that's all Secret Weapons was just a lot of cool situations for Livewire. I really thought they did a lot with the character to kind of help push her into the limelight in the Valiant universe. I'm hoping this will continue, and maybe just like how Faith was, where Faith started with a miniseries, maybe this is one of those things where a successful miniseries leads into a successful ongoing series.
Yeah, I really hope that, and I know that was one of the comments in the live chat here. Jason was saying that this could springboard into an ongoing, and yeah, it worked for Faith. Hopefully, it works for Livewire as well. I think it makes sense to kind of play their cards close to the chest here. we don't know what's going to happen in Harbinger Wars 2 yet. Obviously, whatever does happen is going to have a big impact on Livewire's future. So it'll be interesting to see the fallout from that event and how it picks up in this series. Um, I'm kind of like this cover. I love this cover so much. It makes her look so powerful and imposing, which is perfect for Livewire. And honestly, as much as I love Raul Allen and Patricia Martin, I almost wish that this was the style that we were going to get inside this book. But I mean,
Yeah.
it's not like I'm going to cry that we're getting, Allen and Martin. I mean, those are
Please
both.
don't cry about that. Please don't cry.
Yeah, I'm not going to. I promise. They're both, and they're an amazing team, and they've done really really well on all the Valiant stuff that they've done. They did awesome work on Wrath of the Eternal Warrior. I think they did the Labyrinth arc.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Now, they obviously did Secret Weapons coming up on this Livewire book. I think that this is um, uh, Livewire is probably my second favorite Valiant character, right behind Bloodshot. So the fact that they're going to both get new books back to back months is really exciting to me. And yeah, I can't wait. And then also extremely exciting to me is the fact that the last book here is going to be something brand new that we know very, very little about called Incursion. And it's going to be written by Andy Diggle.
It's an event book.
Yeah, it is. It is a February event. Yeah.
Yeah, this one sounds so crazy. So, like, here's what the solicitation says: Beyond the margins of human reason, there lies a realm known as the dead side, where the souls of the deadly departed linger, and where gruesome terrors lie in wait to strike at us from the dark. But our dead side isn't the only deadly dimension of its kind, and another belonging to an alien world is about to collide with Earth's. With the very nature of our reality at stake, who will stand against the tide of unearthly terrors at our doorsteps? So, like, this sounds like it could be like pretty crazy, you know? And I don't know if it's going to be something necessarily that's like attached to like eternity or anything like that. This could be a whole different group of villainous characters, bad characters, whatever you want to call it. And kind of like with eternity, like the first thing I thought of with this was that if they're introducing like new characters, I love it, you know, because I've been a big fan of them just trying to expand the universe beyond just like the regular core characters, throwing in new concepts. And I've loved everything with Divinity as it is. So to me, this just feels like maybe like another kind of thing like that.
Well, I know I did see Andy Diggle's post on Twitter about this, and he said that there are going to be a lot of heavy hitters in play. So, I mean, this is dead side stuff. So I'm assuming that means that we've got to get some Shadow Man here. Um, and then who else is going to, potentially be involved? I mean, we could get Doctor's Mirage. We could get Exo Manowar. We could get, um,
To get
I mean,
Divinity, he is a pretty heavy hitter, you know.
it would be pretty amazing to see Divinity get involved. Nobody but Matt Kint has really written him, other than a little bit of Dice Art playing with him in an Imperium arc. So it'd be really cool to see him branch out and another writer kind of take on the Divinity part of the universe. But the biggest thing that is so exciting to me is I'm loving Diggle's work on Shadow Man. To me, Ninja K is the absolute best, the absolute top of what Valiant is putting out right now, and just below that is Diggle's current Shadow Man run. So the fact that not only is he giving us something that I think is an amazing book in Shadow Man, but he's actually going to now write an event. Now, my guess is going to be that this is actually going to come out of Shadow Man because it has to do with the dead side, a problem with the dead side, and I imagine it'll be like Bloodshot USA came out of Bloodshot Reborn, and then other characters got involved, because Livewire and Ninjak and a bunch of other characters were in that story. I feel like Incursion is probably going to be a little bit similar to that, which is an amazing idea. And if it's something other than that, I'll still be really excited. Um, yeah, I think that this is all four of these books look like they're just going to be absolutely awesome.
You know, one thing I saw that Sonic Dan Moeller posted about the cover for this was how, if you look at it, it kind of looks very similar to the last cover of Solar that Valiant put out back in the 90s, Solar issue 60. I thought that was really neat. Like I thought that was a really neat kind of way to um, kind of like homage a cover. I mean, if it's not, it's pretty damn like coincidental that it looks like that cover. And the cover, I'm sure I'm gonna ruin his name, Jeffrey Vereg,
Something.
but yeah, something. It was a cool cover. You know, shows like some like Lovecraftian tentacle thing getting ready to.
I liked the kind of Lovecraft nod to this. Hopefully, there's this is kind of a Lovecraftian book. I think that would be really cool, and it would make sense coming out of.
Cthulhu is in the Valiant universe. It's about time.
It would make sense coming out of what Diggle's doing with Shadow Man right now. I think that something kind of Cthulhu-esque or Lovecraftian coming out of that would be reasonable.
You know,
Um,
one thing about the solicit though that bugs me a little bit, and I'm not saying this like in a bad way, but it's one of those things where I'm just like, is there a misdirect with it? Because it brings up all this stuff about the dead side, but it says, but you know, it's not the only bad place. There's another bad place, and what this bad place actually has nothing to do with the dead side. It's just the way that the solicit is written, saying, "Hey, if you know about the dead side, how bad stuff is there. Hey, we got more bad stuff for you in another place."
yeah, it seems like it's basically an alien dead side colliding with our dead side, in creating an imbalance in uh, something or other.
I wonder if they'll have any books that tie in with this too. You know, eventually, and that would be cool if it did. Um, I do kind of like that with the events a little bit. You know, like how Armor Hunters and Book of Death. You know, we had books that tied in. Um, I kind of wish we had that a little bit with Harbinger Wars 2, especially with how good Quantum and Woody was. Like, I know that some people could have written some other stuff just as good, hopefully. But yeah, you know, like these are awesome 4 books. I have one question for you though with all this.
Okay.
I noticed that some people online were kind of like, "Oh, I hate the way these books look." Did you have any problem with like the way these books actually like if these are the covers for the books, would you be like, "Oh, these books look like shit," or would you be like, "Hey, cool, more books to read, man"? Like not bothered with the logo or
The
art
only
style?
thing here's the things that I'll say. None of the logos are super inspired. They're all on the lame side. Like the Bloodshot one is pretty weak. I mean, that's a
Yeah.
pretty weak logo. And maybe we'll get a different one. Maybe that's what they're using. I don't know. But I will give that. Live Wires is probably the best one, but both the Bloodshot and the Incursion logos are pretty weak. Um, the only other thing that I would say negative is I've as much as I can acknowledge that Jeffrey Veregi, I don't know. As much as I can acknowledge that he's a good artist and I think that he does great work, I don't like his style. I've never been a fan of his style. I'm happy that he's getting work, and I'm more than happy to, buy books that his art's on the cover. I don't think it's bad. It's just not for me. So that would be the only negative that I would say about the covers as far as the art. And then also, I mean, the other thing with Incursion, I mean, it's so vague. I mean, it could be just about anything. And obviously that's intentional. I'm sure that's intentional, but it would be nice to have a bit of a better idea. Although this is the last book of this push, and odds are within the next, several months before this book comes out, we'll probably get a better idea of what it's going to be. Um, but anyway, as far as the looks, yeah, I mean, I get that, the logos aren't that great. But I think that the art all fits what they are, at least the three that we know a good idea of what they are. I think that the Faith art fits perfectly, Bloodshot's art fits perfectly, Livewire's art fits perfectly, and I have no idea if the Incursion art fits because we don't know what that book is.
You know, one thing I kind of touched on the post that Dan Moeller put up on Valiant Comic Fans was that I think we're starting to see what Joe Illidge is kind of bringing to Valiant. As far as like the creators, because like if you look at these books, like half of them are people that have worked for Valiant before. People that probably were hired on by Warren Simons, and now I think especially like with the Bloodshot book, I think this like these are newer creators, probably people that Joe Illidge and Mel knew. So I think this is kind of exciting to see like some of the talent that we're going to see. It'll stink a lot, if like we're not going to see like say like Lewis anymore. It sounded like Lewis had a lot of like Lewis Rose has a bunch of work lined up elsewhere as it is. But I like the fact that like there's some new blood on these books, and I also think that there's a big potential here with maybe like around when these books start dropping, like the first of them, that the Valiant Universe titles might just start looking a little bit different than what we've really been accustomed to. I mean, we might just start seeing a whole lot of different talent, and that's okay with me as long as the stories are good. So it'll be interesting to see like how things go.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I would be okay with a different look for the company. I think that the company needs to grow and evolve. Even if the number of books they're putting out every month doesn't grow, the company itself needs to move forward instead of always looking backward. So, you know, I think that I don't know. I think that it's a good thing if we start getting some, new direction. Um, you know, are we going to miss Warren and Dinesh and everybody else that has departed? Lemire, absolutely, absolutely. Um, but does that automatically mean that Illich and everybody else that's come on board is going to do poorly? No, absolutely not. Um, and like you said, some of these creators we're familiar with. The Faith book is going to be handled creatively exclusively by people that have worked on Faith before. So
Mm-hmm.
obviously that's not like some new crazy gamble. The Bloodshot Rising Spirit book, I think that one has a completely new team. Neither the writers or that artist have worked for this for VEI before. So yeah, that might be a new direction, but that character needs a new direction after being under one person for the last couple of years, like 3 years. Um, you know, Livewire, we're getting a new writer, which is exciting, but we're getting an art team that we've already seen do amazingly with the Livewire story. And Incursion, even though Diggle is fairly new to the Valiant universe, Doug Braithwaite he's been around the Valiant universe for quite a long while. He knows how to draw really good comics, and I expect that with, like I said before, the quality of Diggle's work on Shadow Man, I expect Incursion will be really awesome. So I think that there are a lot more reasons to be excited about these books than there are reasons to be pessimistic.
Yeah, and and I think the thing they did too here was that let me pull up the creator names just real quick so I don't like sound like an idiot. It's probably too hard to not do that, but like Lonnie Nadler and Zach Thompson taking over Bloodshot, they're people who are newer to Valiant, but they're also taking over a book that's an established book, established character within the universe that's going to do pretty well on its own, I think. So I think it's cool that like even though those guys they're going to be new here, they're going to be on a book that like they're going to get a chance to tell stories on. Bloodshot's going to do pretty well, I think, no matter who writes it. It's going to make it at least 12 issues, and obviously happy for like Jody to be back. I've always liked her work, so I don't know, man. I'm pretty excited about this. I think this could be something pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. No, okay. Well, here's the question I was going to ask you before, and I want to ask you now.
Oh, I have a question for you too, unless this is the same question.
Let's ask at the same time. One, two, three. No. Which of these books are you most excited about?
I would say Livewire, just
Really?
because I like the character so much, and I feel like this will sound weird. I love what Jody does with Faith, but I have a lot of faith I can read. Okay, and Bloodshot, we've gotten a lot of Bloodshot. As long as like VEI has been around, we've gotten a lot of Bloodshot. I think if I was going to rank this, I would rank it Livewire and then Incursion, just because I mean there's a lot of potential there, and I like what Diggle's
Wow.
doing with
Wow.
with with Shadow Man. And then I'd probably go with like a tie between Faith and Bloodshot. That's just how I
That
would look at
surprises
it.
me. That
Yeah.
surprises me. Um,
What about you?
so Jason is agreeing with you in the live chat. He's saying this live wire book's been a long time coming, and I don't disagree. I definitely don't disagree with that. I mean, it's not going to be a surprise at all. The one I'm most excited for is Bloodshot Rising Spirit. I think that this is pretty much exactly what I was hoping they would do with this character once Lemire left. Um, I never thought that they would go into the past like they're doing, but what was running through my head was how can they do Bloodshot stories with Bloodshot being like he was in the Rising Spirit days without, doing something dumb and like bringing Rising Spirit back or something like that. And this is the perfect way to do it. Go in the past, tell stories that we haven't heard yet about when Bloodshot was, when Ray Garrison was first becoming Bloodshot or whatever the case is, whatever backstory we get. That's going to be really interesting to see. I think that there is a lot of potential there. So that would be the one I'm most excited about. And then number two for me is Livewire. That's not very far behind. Like I was saying, I agree with Jason. That book's been a long time coming. We've been asking for a Livewire book, and I absolutely hope that it turns into an ongoing. And then after that, it's tough because I feel like between Faith Dreamside and Incursion, I have on one hand something where I know pretty much exactly what I'm going to get with Jody Hauser and MJ Kim doing a Faith book. I know pretty much what I'm going to get from that no matter what. And then on the other hand, I've got Incursion from Diggle, who's new to the Valiant universe. I've only seen him write 3 issues so far, and I have no idea what this event's going to be. So it's almost an entire unknown. So it's like totally known, totally unknown. And it's really hard for me to choose between those, which I'm more excited about, because the totally known from Faith, I know that it's a writer who understands the character and an artist who also understands the aesthetic of the character. And then with Incursion, who knows? But Diggle and Braithwaite are both creators that I think are talented and have a high likelihood of doing something really good. So those would be the ones that are kind of tied for me. I wouldn't say I'm least excited about any of them, but yeah, Bloodshot, Livewire, and then the other two are both still pretty exciting. So that's how I would rank them. I don't know anybody watching how you guys would rank your excitement for these new books, but kind of curious what everybody else would say their ranking of excitement is for these books. What was your question?
Here's my question. So every year we get one of these little publishing initiatives for Valiant's like, here's like, handful of books that we're going to do. And I know that, you always are like, oh, I wish they would have just done like that one book. Do you have a book or a character that you're like, oh, I wish they would announce something with this and would have done something with
it? I want to say Animalia, but they're already putting her in the Faith Dreamside book, which I'm excited for. So there goes my easy answer. I think that there are a few. One thing that we had talked about before was the idea that it'd be really cool to see an Armorines book, and I still stand by that. I think that would be really cool. And the other thing would just be an ongoing Harbinger book. I think that would be that's something I would love to see.
Yeah, like for me, it's hard because I thought for sure, like after Harbinger Wars 2 wraps up, and who knows? I mean, we don't know anything, so who knows? But I was like, man, let's get the Renegades back. Let's see them like, monthly, ongoing, doing some shit, getting in trouble, kicking some ass. Let's see Chris be awesome. Let's see Pete, achieve some potential. So like to me, it's like, why if we don't get that news, and that's such a big book, I wish we were getting it. And then also, I'm like, where the hell's Galad? Like, Galad is such a major part of the Valiant universe.
Is he really just said that in the live chat?
Is he just fucking off in like his weird homescape in the great unknown? Like, I feel like that's a dude. To me, like not having Galad around is like not having Wolverine around. Okay, like or like Batman. Like he's a fucking vital part of the Valiant universe. And I can't believe that there's nobody who's like, hey, nobody wants to pitch this book to Valiant. Like, I think that's crazy if that's like the reason why we don't have one, or if there's just not a good
But
story. Like,
fans aren't crying for it either, right? Like,
I don't know. I mean, to me, like, there's a little segment that is just not getting like used, and it's the Immortal Brothers. Like, we just don't get enough of like any of them, I think, you know. But like, to me, like, Galad is such a major piece. We need more Galad. Maybe people aren't complaining, but people aren't necessarily complaining about like anything not getting published.
no, Psy Lords.
Oh, that's just me and Travis Williams, man. Come on. And it's
No,
probably
people,
never, it's never gonna happen. I don't think now.
yeah, people constantly bring up Psy Lords. I'm in a non-Valiant comic book group that one of the moderator or whatever will occasionally post Valiant news, and he posted this article today and asked whatever happened to Psy Lords.
Exactly. It's
So
just
it's out
like
there.
they promoted it for like 2 years in their free comic book day books, and then it was just like nothing.
And then yeah, nothing. Nobody said a
I
word
wish
about
I
it.
wish I knew I wish I knew how close that was, like what the story is with it, almost as much as I just wish that book would have just happened. Like, who was gonna write it? Who was gonna draw it? Like, what's going on?
So here's my other answer that I'm realizing. If I could pick one book for them to add to this, I would say a Unity book. Bring Galad back, put Livewire back in charge, get Bloodshot on the team. It could be absolutely amazing. Um,
I agree. You know, I think the challenge that I mean, just from my own like enjoyment of that title prior, I think that once you get past like Dr. Silk and Toyo, it's hard to be like, who's the villain, who's the foil that these guys are going to go up against, you know? And Valiant's kind of like, to me, like notoriously weak with like its bad guys, you know? Like, there's a couple really great ones, and then like the rest of them, you're just like,
Look
who
at the
knows?
entire unknown just opened up,
I know,
right? And
yeah.
what if Divinity refused to help Unity? What if he's got his own stuff going on and he's not going to help them fight off all these other characters from the unknown, the past light and the future light?
It's true, you know. I mean, like, I mean, to me, like, I just think like, you know, well, here's what sucks. There's too many books that I'd be like, put this out, put this out, put this out. You know, it's just that we're so used to being like, you know, we get under 10 books always, you know, or under 7 or whatever we're at now. And it's like, if you could just add one, it's like, I wish I could add like 4 or 5, you know, just like for my own enjoyment, you know, because I like the characters so much, you know. But Harbinger and Galad, to me, it's like, got to have them, you know, especially since I like the how like in V1, which I know you're not a fan of it at all. You know, sometimes those books would go over like what happened in Galad's past, you know, or like events that happened, like big major events in his past. To me, like the way the Bloodshot Rising Spirit book is looking at Bloodshot's past, it's like that's what I would love to see with like Galad, you know, the Eternal Warrior, like in, you know, these wars or these like famous historical skirmishes, or when these famous events maybe happened in history at certain spots, you know. But I don't know. Maybe next year. Maybe next year's big push will be like, you know, the Immortal Brothers, especially Ivar, man. Fuck, there's another thing that we need more of, man. Give me
Yeah,
a 0 issue at least.
that'd be nice, but unlikely to happen.
Too much.
Um,
Too much that I want, man. But
well, that's the thing is, I mean, you know, they could put out 50 books a month, and there's still going to be somebody saying, "Well, man, why don't they do a book with this character?"
why didn't I get that Betamax book now that they have 50 books, you know? Like, but maybe
Why
it's
don't
better
I have
than
a
one.
Visitor book? You
Maybe
know,
it's better than
Bulldog in
one
the
and
live
not
chat is
get.
talking about Visitor, and
Huh?
he doesn't even exist in Bulldog in the live chat is talking about Visitor, and he doesn't even exist in VEI yet.
Do you know who the visitor is?
Isn't it Pete?
Yeah, it's Pete.
So
Pete does exist.
that's
Maybe the
true,
visitor
but he's
can.
never been
I think they,
visited.
and I think that one point they also teased the Outcast at one point. That book though is so forgettable. I don't remember anything about it.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
So I don't know. So that's kind of what Valiant. We kind of broke down Valiant Beyond probably about as far as we can. Is there anything more that you have to say about Valiant Beyond?
No, just that I'm way excited for this. I can't wait to buy all these books.
I'm gonna go read the Nadler Thompson Cable run, honestly. Check out what that's all about. Probably try to see if I can find some of Vita Ayala's work, and also try to read some books that Ken Lashley worked on. I think it'd be really, I really want to, since there is a fair amount of new talent in this push here, I want to familiarize myself with them. So I'm interested to go and read some of their other books.
I remember
Um,
that Ken did the Flash. I remember that.
Yeah, he's done a bunch of Marvel too, or looks
Yeah,
like some X-Men
he's
Gold
done a
and
lot of like big name books. He just did Black Panther, I think, too. Um, he's cool. He's a good artist.
now we you opened a can of worms because the entire live chat now is um you know we need West Coast Unity and Punk Mambo book and Great Lakes Unity and Torque and Chris should have a baby and Where's Savage and yes, people. Yes, we only wanted one. You each only get one. You
No,
can say one book that you would add, but that's
but
it.
be happy
Not
that
everyone.
people are chiming in. You know,
I'm happy that they're chiming in too, but I need them to be a little bit more reasonable.
all those answers that say Harbinger and Galad, though, hell yeah.
Yeah.
God, I forgot all about like Armorines, man. Like those guys don't even like they haven't been used for shit, man. Like in the last year. Hopefully they show up
Yeah.
sometime soon.
It'd be cool if they showed up, but
Yeah.
probably won't. So I
You know
think the
what it
only other
is? You know what it is though, is that we were so vocal about Livewire getting some stuff, and they heard Valiant was like, "Oh, these dudes, man, they know what's up, man. They got ear to the
oh,
ground.
Get Valiant knows what we need to do.
We need to get some talent on this book, get Livewire going." And so now what we need to do is we need to start being like, "Hey, man, those Armorines, they need a threat.
Marines and a Unity book.
They need some hard shit to go up against, and we need to show them doing
Like
some."
the hardcore.
Would they? I don't think they would really do that, because I think they're both like government stooges.
Yeah, but you don't know. It could happen.
They could go rogue. Someone could go rogue.
Everybody could go rogue.
Hell yeah.
Um,
Hey,
so,
real quick,
oh,
before we go into our review, there was one tiny bit of news. I didn't know if you saw this or if you had any thoughts on this. There was some like casting stuff that broke. I think it's broken through like the Key Collector app, where they're like, "Hey, Axe from like Harbinger 3 is gonna be from the old Harbinger 3 from like the 90s is gonna be in the Bloodshot movie." I was curious if you were familiar with the character at all, because I know you don't really dig the V1.
no. The only axe that I know is the current one. I've
Yeah.
heard, like, I've read little bits of things about the original axe, but I've never read any of the stories that he's involved in.
One thing I'm hoping is like bad news, or not necessarily like fake news, but just like someone's got like the wrong thing. Is a lot of people keep talking about with the Bloodshot movie how it's going to be Angelo Mortelli as Bloodshot, not
Yeah,
Ray Garrison, and I'm just like, is that? I mean, like they could make them both work technically, where like maybe he was uh Antonio, Morelli, and then after he breaks free, he thinks he's Ray or something like that. But I was like, it's just so weird that like they're kind of going off of like that name. I wonder how true that really is, or if just people just don't know. But I did see though on eBay, a lot of people bought a bunch of Harbinger threes, so I think there's like a million of them. Don't spend too much money, anyone.
yeah. I'm not too worried about it. We'll see what happens. I just want the movie to be made and come out, and so I can put it into my eye holes.
Yeah.
Um, so we have Valiant High number 2.
One cover for this one. There's actually two covers, but ours is the one where he's is this the dab? Is that what they call this?
Sure,
That
why
new
not? Um, Honestly, man, like I don't really have a lot to say about this book. I'm pretty sure that everything I had to say about Valiant High I said last episode.
I know this was like that's like the one weird thing about this where it's like we just talked about this like 7 days ago, and this is the book that we get so quickly. Um, well, I guess to talk about it, they play dodgeball Blood Ball, as they call it. And
Yeah.
Charlene doesn't like Livewire. And then Faith has to get involved.
And Ninjak is trying to pretty woman Peter.
Yeah, so that he can land Chris. And and then like Livewire did crash her car into Harada's car.
But Harada forgave her.
Oh, and then at the very end, I thought this was good, was that Ninjak and Pete, they discover like some woodshed where it's got all of like Galad's like school stuff going way back in history. So that
Yeah.
obviously is like the eternal sophomore or whatever he is. So yeah, I mean, it's a fine issue to read. I'm still not a huge fan of the art, but I
But
mean,
I think if you're
it's
into the
serviceable.
concept, I think if you're into the concept, then you would like this. Like if
Yeah,
you hear what the concept is and you're like, oh, that sounds like a good book, then definitely pick this up and read it. If you hear the concept and you're like, why are they doing that? Don't bother. It's probably
but here's a big problem with that. I think is that when the book got announced originally, it was going to be a digital book. Everybody was like, "What? Like, what is that?" You know, like, I don't want that. Doesn't sound cool. Doesn't appeal. And I was one of those people too. Who's just like, man, this book looks so like weird, but it's enjoyable. And so I think like sometimes like kind of like how we say like not every book is targeted towards us, but you can like just about anything you want to like. I think like this book's okay. I've actually liked the covers. The La Fuente covers I think look good. The cover for issue 3 looks pretty good too. Um, one thing I do want to say about this book, and it's something I wish we would have said when we talked about the first issue of Harbinger Wars 2. I don't know if we mentioned this. Maybe we did, about how in the back of the book there was like a tribute to Warren. In the back of this one, if you go to like the little page where like Valiant talks, the Valiant compass points, and this is more for like people who just don't know about this stuff. Valiant goes over their whole gold program. So like if you're a person who's like, man, how do you get those gold books that people show online sometimes? There's a really good explanation of like the whole program in the back of this issue. Just because I know like sometimes like new fans show up and they don't know how to get some of the cool stuff that other people get or that other people have earned. So if you ever wonder, hey, how do you get gold books? There's a great explanation about the whole thing in the back of this issue.
so that's the best part of the issue.
I'm not knocking into it. I just felt like, I mean, for me, it's just like we just talked about this thing, and I don't remember what I graded it last time. Whatever I graded it last time, put me down for that again.
I'm going to 3, man. I mean, it's not bad, but it's just so like it's so not for me. And like I said, that's okay. I'm not mad at Valiant for putting out this book. It's just I'm not going to be able to pretend to be really excited about it.
Exactly.
The art is solid for what it is. It's well written. It's a good high school teenage drama. I
Well,
just
and I guess
couldn't give a fuck less about teenage drama.
I mean, I appreciate this. Here's something I appreciate is that it's Valiant trying something different, and I think that they need to experiment with different things. I wish that like Valiant, I mean, Bloodshot's a pretty violent book at times, but I almost wish they'd just give us like a full on like mature readers book, like
Yeah.
kind of like how like Vertigo is. Like give us like a hard as fuck like Bloodshot book. Just try it. Just see how it happens. See if like the industry can get behind that, But yeah, I mean, this is an okay book. I always just think like maybe one day my kid would read it, my daughter would read it, because she likes comics. But I'll tell you what, I do like it enough that I don't mind buying a copy.
Yeah, I'm not like mad that I bought a copy.
Yeah.
That's for sure. I'm not like upset about it.
I do buy everything that Valiant puts out. I mean I like this shit, obviously. I do this podcast. But I do like it enough that I buy the issue, there's been stuff that I have been like, oh, wish I didn't buy this. Like
that Ninjak arc.
oh man, yeah, I mean this I would rather read this than like what was that one? The Fist and the Steel?
Fist and Steel.
I've tried to block it on my mind. I'm gonna get to it when I start reading through Ninjak again, because I just got the second hardcover. Oh shit, that's one thing I do want to talk about real quick. So this was like maybe one of the cooler things I saw this week. Not as cool as like the Valiant Beyond thing, but so the second there's another Archer and Armstrong hardcover coming out for Delinquents. And the Delinquents hardcover, if you flip over the dust jacket, it's the entire board game set of variants that they put out when they put out the Delinquents. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did see that. I thought that was pretty cool.
I think that's way cool. So like, I feel like that's such a like concept that totally works with Quantum and Woody and Archer and Armstrong together. So I just thought that was such a neat little thing that they're doing. So maybe
Yeah.
if you ever want to play a different game that's not the Catalyst Labs Valiant game, go get that and try to play it. Also, get injected by Universe. It's fun.
So here's the other thing I was going to ask you about, and I didn't tell you to prepare, so you may not even have it. Did you pick anything else up this week?
Yeah, I picked up the first and only, it's a one-shot issue called Dazzler from Marvel, written by Magdalene Visario. I love the cover art. I thought it was so cool. Another book, the other book I picked up this week was, I picked up the new Justice League. I haven't read it. But I like Snyder generally, so it's like I want to try the first issue. And then
I thought about picking that up, but then I didn't.
I know it was one of those things where I was like, I like his work. I want to keep buying his work, and then I was like, I'll just buy it because I mean it's just an issue. And then the other thing I bought this week was the second issue of Man of Steel, because surprisingly, I really liked the first issue of it. Brian Bendis writing Superman. It was pretty good. So, yeah, I was actually pretty sucked in on the first issue. Gonna give the second issue a shot. Hopefully, I like it. But yeah, that's all I bought. It was kind of a small week.
It was a small week.
And the only book I read was the Valiant book, Valiant High, and I read Dazzler, and I like Dazzler too.
So the stuff that I picked up, I follow Weapon X from Marvel.
Cool. Is it pretty good?
It's not at its strongest point right now. It's not terrible. It's definitely like still worth reading. And they're also going to be doing a new team in the next couple of months. So I'm kind of excited to see what happens there. The book will change. Also, it's written by Greg Pak and Fred Van Lente, who are both Valiant writers. So that's kind of cool.
I didn't know Fred Van Lente was working on it.
Yeah, Van Lente is working on it with Greg Pak.
Has he been on it the whole time?
I don't think he was on it at the very beginning, but he is on it now. And keeping in line with buying things that Valiant creators are on, I was told that this was going to be really good, so I figured I'd try it out. The Immortal Hulk. I went ahead and grabbed that #1 issue. Joe Bennett is doing the art. He's done some Valiant stuff.
Did you read it yet?
I have not. I've not read either. The only thing that I've read so far this week was Valiant High, and I read that pretty much right before we came on.
I thought I read that that Hulk book was going to be a little more darker in tone, almost like a horror book, and I would actually read a book like that of the Hulk, because when I was a kid,
I think it could be really cool.
Yeah, when I was like a little kid and I first discovered like the Hulk comics, they were kind of like that. Like he fought like just like grotesque people in like other dimensions or things that were just so weird to me, and I was like, oh, this book like trips me out. So to me, it's like, give me that as a Hulk book. Like I don't want like smart Hulk. I don't give a shit about that. I want like dumb brute Hulk fighting like crazy beasts. Like that's what I like.
So the only other book that I bought, the last book that I bought, I think this may have been a really big mistake. Not sure yet. We'll find out. But I did go ahead and grab a copy of Deadpool #1.
I like the cover art.
Yeah, the cover is really cool, and he says "clean up on aisle 2," which reminds me of The Office, Michael Scott's movie, Threat Level Midnight, when he keeps saying "clean up on aisle 5." It has nothing to do with what's going on, so I thought that was funny and probably unintentional Office reference. But I've never been a fan. Like I've never really been able to handle Deadpool on his own. I think the movies are really good, and that's actually the reason why I'm willing to give this new number one a shot. But I think Deadpool works best when he is working with somebody else. Like that Deadpool Punisher series that Marvel did was hilarious. The
That
Deadpool
was
Old
like
Man Logan
Van Lente
series.
and Perez, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. Yeah, Van Lente and Perez, and then they did this. Declan Shalvey and I can't remember who the artist was. Did Deadpool versus Old Man Logan? That was pretty good. I've actually got the trade for Deadpool versus Carnage that I'm going to check out. But those usually work really well. So I'm not sold on the idea of a Deadpool solo book. I may end up hating it, but I'm willing to give it a shot. I know over in our live chat, Hoosiers talking about Sword Daughter #1 came out by Brian Wood from Dark
Dark
Horse.
Horse.
I'm
Yeah.
pretty excited about that. And then Jason was mentioning Spawn and Witchblade. Um,
Hmm.
I I just was not able to follow Spawn when I tried, so I don't really pick a lot of that stuff up. Um,
I used to have a huge run of Spawn that I don't know why I did this. I sold it one day, and I always just think like, why the hell did I do that? You know. But I've tried picking up now. I have no clue what's going on. In fact, like maybe like 2 months ago it was. There was like three covers. Like there was one like kind of like a greenish cover of Spawn looking like badass, and then there was like I think like a black and white, and then there was like a virgin cover with no words. And I bought all of them. And I was like, why did I buy these? Like, I don't even collect Spawn, and I have no clue what's going on in this book. Like, this was the stupidest purchase I've done. No disrespect to you if you like Spawn. I just don't know where the character is at anymore.
yeah,
And
I tried.
I have a lot of fond memories of liking it. Like, I used to have the first 100 issues and loved it. I've in fact I've been trying to read Savage Dragon again too because it's just another book that's been going a long time, just like Spawn has. And I'm kind of in the same boat where I'm just like, I don't have any clue what's going on. And that book's got a shit ton of nudity and crazy stuff going on in it. It's so weird. Not like bad. I think it's just like I don't really read books with a lot of like vagina shots and tits everywhere. And I mean, Savage Dragon is just like almost like a porno comic at this point.
Crazy.
I just
I've
don't
never
really.
read any Savage Dragon.
He's like the Hulk, but like a cop, and he fights a shit ton of like bad guys. And the old, I mean, I have a bunch of those books too, and they're like it's a pretty fun book. It's just so weird and different now that I'm like, I don't know if I want to keep reading this. It's not bad. It's just maybe too different for me. I'm not a
Fair
prude.
enough. Well, I think that's all we've got this week. Good chat about Valiant Beyond. I'm really excited to see what comes of it.
Thanks
Valiant
for
High.
joining
I mean,
us.
we'll see. What's that?
So thanks for joining us, everybody.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I guess. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I want to see trying to see here what's coming out next week. Do you know what's coming out next week? I'm trying to look it up real quick. I'm
I
not
think
fast
that
enough.
Delinquents hardcover comes out.
Is that it?
I'm not sure. I don't think so. I don't know. I hope not. I really hate these weeks where like nothing comes out.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up here. So Jason is saying the Savage Dragon is his son now.
Oh yeah, Malcolm. Malcolm Dragon is the. So I don't know what happened to his dad though. Like that's the thing. Like I'm like, where did his dad go?
Jason, what happened to his dad?
And he's got a girlfriend or wife, and they bone like a lot.
Oh,
Like here's the thing.
Bloodshot's coming out next week.
So here's the thing. Like I like normally I'll leave books out on my table in here, and one time like Savage Dragon was on top, and I had to like hide it when my daughter came in because I was like, don't even look in there. Like I'd rather you see like a bunch of, like I don't want to have that conversation yet with you about like the stuff that
Yeah,
give me
that
a
might be a
couple
little
years.
early.
Give me just a couple of years, please.
Oh man.
But I think I'm gonna keep going.
Um,
I don't know.
so yeah, it looks like that Quantum and Woody Volume 2 hardcover is going to be coming out, as well as
Yes.
Bloodshot Salvation #10. We finally get to see what's going on in 4002, so that'll be really interesting. Um,
Don't even get me
oh,
started on stuff too.
Jason doesn't know what happened to the original Savage Dragon. He doesn't follow it enough. So you'll have to
Which
Wikipedia it.
Jason is in the chat? Is it Jason
Falter.
uh Falter? Okay. Hey Jason. Um I need to know. I'm going to have to start like maybe getting on Wikipedia or something. Maybe they have like an explanation for it.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for watching. Thanks everybody for listening. Yeah, glad that we got some sweet news today before the episode, and hopefully there'll be some more next week. But we'll go ahead and sign off. I'm Eric Baumgard.
I'm Josh Rathbun.
And I hope you all have a great weekend. Stay valiant beyond.
This thing, whatever it is that Eric was doing on the cover.